What up, guys? Welcome to the Chewjitsu podcast, episode number 300 and something or other. We're here.
You make a comment every single time.
I do. And I'm going to keep doing it until we're at
We'll
like
see.
some
Yeah.
outrageous number, like episode 7,000 something. I mean, I guess it's maybe somehow it's useful. Like it's like an old TV show episodes, it'd be like Seinfeld episode 90, whatever it
Mhm.
was. Maybe that's presents some useful utility. I don't know. But anyway, today's episode, we're just gonna have a little fun today. So it's about I don't know, like I know the people that listen to our podcast. I've met enough of you guys to kind of have an idea of who you are, and I'm pretty sure you guys will we'll have some fun today, basically. So today's episode is we're just going to talk about sort of the alpha male bros. So there's this culture online of these sort of air quotes alpha dudes that are out there on the internet, and you know the type, right? They all have this sort of this, it's almost like there's like a book that they read, and it's like all of the same things. Like you have to have like a really expensive watch while you're driving some expensive car, and you got to take the picture. You have to find a woman who scantily clad, maybe she's an OnlyFans model, whatever. You have her come around, like it's this sort of thing, right? And then they preach that as if this is the way that we should all this is what we should all strive for. And obviously I know that many of you guys watching this and listening to this are of a different opinion. Spoken to enough of you. When I've posted some stuff on Instagram recently, we had some fun on there, and a lot of you guys shared your same opinions and ideas. And so we're gonna have some fun with it today and talk about why the alpha bros are literally the, if you guys have ever seen the memes where there's the guy who comes into the gym and says, "Oh, I can't do this because I just see red and bodies drop." Like they're all that guy. And I'll share why, that meme, as it might be a meme, but it's based on like a true, real type of person that comes into gyms. Literally every gym owner I've ever spoken to has had a guy like that come into their gym, and I've had a bunch of them, and we'll have some fun with them today. I'll share some fun stories with you all. Hopefully you're entertained, and go from there. So big thanks to our sponsors for helping make this podcast happen. Charlotte's Web CBD. Again, Charlotte's Web's been one of my favorite supplements for the last, like 7-8 years, whatever it's been now. Again, they are one of the OGs of the CBD companies or CBD products out there. When I use the supplement, for me, I share this with you guys. I don't want to sound like I'm like some shill. Oh, supplements, use this. It's the magic pill. It's useful for what I use it for. Like I use it for recovery, and I find that it's useful. But again, it doesn't trump a good diet, exercise, sleep, the whole deal, right? If you're doing all that stuff good, then you add this, it can be useful. Get a couple percentages, moving the needle forward. But I do find that it tends to be helpful with things like sleep. And so that team tends to be what I've always used it for, is either use a CBD or a CBN product around my bedtime. That's what I've always used it for. And I find a lot of value there. But again, I always tell people, if you've ever been interested in using CBD, just try it for yourself and see what you think. Use it for a month, see the effects of it, see how you feel, and kind of go from there. But big thanks to our sponsor, Charlotte's Web. And if you guys want to check out any of their products, you can save 30% off your order at their website at charlottesweb.com. The promo code is Chewjitsu30 for 30% off the order. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Epic Roll. I'm currently getting ready to order a bunch of rash guards from them. I have a design that I made that I released earlier this year, sold a bunch of those. Going to get another batch of those created shorts and rash guards, and so we'll have those on my website soon that you guys can order. But in the meantime, if you guys want to go to their website and check out some of their stuff, go to epicrollbjj.com, browse around the website, see if you find something you like. And if you do find something you like, whether it's a rash guard, some shorts, gi, t-shirt, whatever, use the promo code promo code Chewjitsu20 at checkout at epicrollbjj.com. If you guys would like to support the podcast directly, you can do so by rolling on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. When you join up, you'll join a bunch of other members who get access to it. And again, there's a bunch of different perks that you can get access to, one of which I think is useful. I talk to BJJ people that if you're north of like 30, 35, body's tight and rigid and you're stiff, you want to recover faster, you want to feel a little bit more loose, but you ain't doing anything about it. So again, inside the Patreon, Eugene has included a couple of different stretching warm-up routines that we've used with Jiu-Jitsu campers over the years, and they're very effective. They're specifically for Jiu-Jitsu to deal with our particular issues with our body. And with that, the campers that have used it in the past, one of the things they always say is, "Oh man, I feel so good. Man, I feel so much looser. Oh, dude, I haven't felt like that in years." Just by doing a little bit of stretching, like literally 20 minutes. If you say, "Oh man, I want to feel better," you can take 20 minutes out, take a bath, take a shower, whatever, do the stretches, you're good to go. Get access to it and more at the Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. If you guys would like to support, not support, but if you guys would like to get my daily email, you can go to my website at jujitsu.net/join. And when you join up, you will get my daily email that I send out, it's almost daily. Typically it's Monday through Friday. You get exclusive deals and discounts that are in releases that I have, and you also get access to a free ebook that I give and a free video that comes along with it, which gives you a bunch of different strategies on how to improve faster with your open rolling. So many people don't have excess time to drill and everything else, but you roll. And if you go into the gym and you roll during an open mat or whatever, you can get a lot from that if you get very deliberate with your training. And it'll give you 12 different ways to do that, to get more motivation from your training, to be able to measure progress and actually see yourself getting better. So check it out at my website, jujitsu.net/join. So guys, with that said, let's jump into this. First off, when I'm talking about the alpha male bros, it's the same person. There's lots of them, right? And they come in different flavors, but they're all kind of the same, right? It's like this sort of pursuit of material wealth and what I would sort of liken to be sort of like a frat boy's dream. And like, this is what you're striving for. I remember, a number of years ago, the big one that was popular was Dan Blazarian.
Mhm.
And he was really popular, right? He'd pay all these women to be around him, and he would, he said he never did, but obviously paid them all to be around him, and did this thing. And I remember, like, I was talking to the guys at the gym one day. Like, I don't mind the company of women, of course, right? Like, we have several of the women that train in the gym. They've become like my little sisters, like Julia and Lane and stuff. But no offense to anybody, like, I want to hang out with my bros. Like, I've got my wife. And then, if I was going to hang out, I was like, I've always been this way. If I'm going to go hang out with a group, like, I prefer the company of a bunch of bros hanging out doing stuff. To me, that's pretty normal for guys, right? I don't know, just my thoughts. So, like, looking around, it's like he's hanging out with a bunch of, women with, lots of plastic surgery and stuff like that. And I was like, it looked like a miserable experience. But then you see these guys and they're just flaunting this material wealth. And then what tends to happen over and over again is that these guys, you find out it's all like a show. It's all like smoke and mirrors. Some of these guys go through bankruptcy. Sometimes you find out they were renting this. There was one guy years ago that was renting homes and cars to promote this lifestyle that he was living, the whole deal, right? And they typically then fleece people out of their money by selling you something to actually live this lifestyle that they can't afford unless they sell you how to live the lifestyle. Right. It's like the classic business owner grifter online who basically wants to sell you business coaching, but has never owned a successful business, have never run a successful business. They literally have done nothing, but they're going to sell you how to run the successful business and therefore, make their money that way. So anyway, you kind of get the idea. I'm sure you've seen them, right? The alpha bro, usually loud, obnoxious, so forth, so on. Typically doesn't have a family, doesn't have kids. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have what I personally would consider more of like a traditional, the tradition to me, like better signs of like what is more fulfilling in life, like
Yeah.
the community around you. You've built up people around you. Like, maybe you don't even have to have kids. Maybe you're like a jiu-jitsu coach who has built up a strong community for people and built a place for them to come and train and become a part of a group. That's a powerful thing. But anyway, to get into it, what I've seen over and over again, because I think the algorithm targets me for these guys because of the fact that I watch them for entertainment purposes. And I imagine, because I'll watch the video and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and I'm thinking, does anybody actually buy this? Or is everybody like me where we're watching this for like a laugh? Because some of these videos are so ridiculous. like there was the one with the Wes Watson guy where he's talking about, jiu-jitsu doesn't work, that, these MMA fighters are lame and that, they want to go fight in the ring. I'm like, bro, like just because like I'm an MMA fighter, like for instance, I'm in Kentucky, like you don't think I can't carry a weapon? Like, I mean, whatever. It's like, dude, it's like, I hate when people say that with like, if the stuff doesn't work on the street, dude, like all the stuff that you can do, I can do too, but the only difference is I actually know how to fight too. And then there's a video of him actually getting into a fight because I was curious, like, who is this guy? And I went and watched, and there's a video of him like fighting and beating the crap out of a guy, and he probably punched this dude like 40 times, and the dude was still up. I'm like, bro, you got pillow hands, like you can't fight. And there's another dude that was talking, another alpha bro who's doing these videos where he's talking about how wise and smart he is, right? Which, if you're a wise person, you're a smart person. Typically, you don't have to tell people. But he was talking about whatever, and he was talking about being able to fight off like 30 people. I'm like, oh geez, you're one of those dudes, right? Just nonsense, right? You're not fighting off 30 people. No one's fighting off 30 people. And so you just see it over and over again. And what it reminds me of is the meme person of, jiu-jitsu doesn't work on me. I can't do jiu-jitsu. I can't fight. I can't do this stuff because I just see red. See red bodies drop.
Mhm.
And, for any of you guys that are younger, newer to this stuff, that's a real person. We make a joke about it, but that's a real person. I'll give you a couple fun stories because I've got lots of these, man. I've got tons of these. There was one guy that came in years ago. He's about 250, and he was in the gym and he was doing a little bit of like boxing, kickboxing work, nothing crazy. And he was lifting weights. And I remember my wife was working up at the front desk at the time, and he was like sort of like flexing a little bit, trying to like, talk himself up to her, probably trying to, kind of like, like look cool in front of her kind of thing.
Mhm.
And she's listening, and he doesn't know that, that's my wife. And he's going on and on about how he's just so tough and he's so strong. Everybody tells him how strong he is, and that he really wants to try this MMA stuff, but he's just like, I just don't know. Like, it's just I'll get out there, and if someone tries to pin me down, I just don't know what'll happen to someone. This kind of thing, right? So later on, I'm lifting weights in there, and this guy's like, he's 250, and I'm watching him lift weights, and he's not very strong. I mean, you can look at him, he's a big guy, he's a thick guy, but he's not strong. He's under the weights and he's not very strong there. So I don't know what he's talking about. He's so strong. And then he goes into eventually a couple weeks later, he goes to an MMA class and he trains with one of our 150 pounders, like 155 pounders, like 100-pound difference. And our 150 pounder, I mean, works him. I mean, the dude is just worked. I had to go throw up because he was so tired, right? He got taken down and was just that mentality got him absolutely nowhere. He could see red all he wants to, but he was pinned to the ground with another 100, like with a person 100 pounds lighter than him, just giving him little tapping shots to the head with his MMA gloves on, just to let him know, hey, I'm hitting you. I'm hitting you. You can't get out of it. He quit afterwards. He never came back. There was another guy years ago who came in when my student Chad was a young kid, about 15 years old, maybe 14. I don't know. Just can't remember. But somewhere in that range. Chad at the time was probably about 120, 130 pounds. Little string bean, little tall kid. Well, this guy comes in, he's about 250 pounds, big, muscular dude, just whatever, full of, piss vinegar and talking about how bad of a fighter he is and how he's gonna fight MMA, da, 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 da. And I said, "Hey, man, why don't you just go roll with that kid over there and see what happens?" And Chad put him in a choke, triangle choke, and then he didn't wanna tap. I'm talking to him, like, "Hey, bro, tap if you're getting a choke, whatever." And he went to sleep. Had to wake him up, hey, man, maybe, just chill out next time and just tap out, whatever." He quit. Let me find another one. Oh, here's a crazy one, and this story is only funny because the guy actually lived. So years ago, there was a guy that came in on a Saturday class, and this guy, like, you look at the dude, he had like this wife beater on, and he comes in, he's like telling me, "Yeah, man, I want to make it to the UFC. Like, I'm ready to like, uh, dedicate my life to this thing." He's like 32, 33, not in great shape. So I'm like, whatever, dude. Here's and obviously I'm nice. In my mind, I'm like, "Oh my god, what are you talking about?" But in person, in the way I present myself, Okay, man. Well, come in and try class. Like I'm a consummate professional. Whatever is going on in my head, I can separate that. Like I can have the like which has happened. I've literally, my mom's like on her deathbed, whatever, and I'll go teach a jiu-jitsu class and nobody knows because it's like you can separate those things, right? I can compartmentalize. I'll come back to this thought later, but I got to be this way now. So anyway, give him our information. I was like, hey, why don't you come back Monday, try class out, and we'll just start there. Okay. So he comes back Monday and he does jiu-jitsu class. I mean, he's just exhausted through the warm-ups. We let him do some very light situational rolling, nothing crazy, but again, just exhausted through. So he goes afterwards to the boxing class, and he's just doing like a hitting the bag a little bit, nothing crazy. Well, around this time, I am in the back making my lunch, got like a little French press going, making coffee for myself, and I hear my business partner Joe. He's like, Chewy, come out here. And I think Joe's just yelling at me because he wants to talk about something. And I'm like, it's awfully demanding. I said, 1 minute. And he says, Chewy, get over here. And I'm like, what is so damn important? So I walk out of there and I've got my French press with my cup of coffee. And I look and Joe is, he's like giving the person chest compressions. And the boxing coach is staring over top. And there's the dude laying in the ground. And I'm thinking, oh, what is going on, right? So I get over there and Joe's on, he's got 911 on the phone. He's giving chest compressions, keeping this guy going. I'm like, what the hell? So I don't know what to do. I have no idea how I can contribute because he's got 911 on the phone. They're on their way. He's giving him chest compressions. So I'm thinking, I don't know. So there is a medical building to the side of the gym. So I say, okay. So I put my stuff down and I run over there, right? I'm still like in my training gear, right? So I'm still like nasty, sweaty stuff, run around to the side of the building, you know, and I walk in. And again, I'm running. So I'm in there and I'm half out of breath, but I kind of like stand up straight and I calmly walk up to the front where there's like a little check-in counter. This is a little clinic where you write your name down and your check-in time. And I just stand there for a second and the woman says, yes, sir, how can I help you? And I say, yes, ma'am. I'm just curious, is there a doctor here? Because I'm at the gym right to the side of the building and someone's dying. And I just didn't know if maybe
Someone's dying.
someone's dying. I don't know if you guys could
Someone's dying.
I said something. I was like, someone's died. I was like, I don't know if you guys could maybe send someone over. I mean, just such a weird conversation to have, right? And so I sit there for a second. She's like, sorry,
Wow.
we can't help because of certain situations. Where I was like, okay. I was like, well, hey, thank you for your time. I walked back out the door and I immediately start running back. And I'm like coming back to check on Joe and the guy. Joe still got the guy. And, I don't know what what the boxing coach was like taking his knuckle and was like trying to hit him on the side. He said, this is called a cardiac thump. And like the woman's on speakerphone on 911. She's like, no, don't do that. Tell him to stop doing that. Right. Like
stop punching the dude in the neck. Right.
just administer chest compressions.
Oh,
and
geez.
then I tell him, hey, I went to the hospital, the clinic next to him, whatever. About 5 seconds later, boom, right behind me, there is just so happened to be a cardiologist in there and like a doctor who's like, he's running past me. He's out of breath. And he's like, where is he? He's right there. So then he takes over and whatever. And then, the whole thing happens. Eventually the ambulance gets there. And then there's like this sort of back and forth between the paramedic and the doctor. They eventually take the patient. They end up having to give him they had to jam him
Defibrillator or defibrillator.
twice. They had to shock him twice to keep him going, but he lived. And come to find out, this dude had in his wallet had a card, and it was like, "Hey, my name is so and so, and if you find me, I just want you to know that I have this particular condition." It was a heart condition. And it was like he had a hole in his heart, and it was like he knew about it. It's like a little thing. And so I'm like, what? What are you doing? You're 32, 33 years old. You're not in shape. You're coming in. You got a hole in your heart, and you think you're gonna make this to the UFC? Like, what are you doing, dude? And so he's kind of like the bottom end of it. He's like, because there's this sort of spectrum of arrogance and delusion. He's probably more delusion, less arrogant, but then there's the arrogant side that's sort of mixed with delusion. But they all sort of fall under this category of you know, completely abandoning reality, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna see red and bodies are gonna drop, or I have a congenital heart issue that I've had for years, and I'm somehow going to just change things at 32, and I'm going to be a UFC fighter or champion. But like, what are you talking about? And so I could go on for hours because I literally need to write a book at some point about all the stories because there's some funny ones. Um, but these are the story. Every gym owner that I know has these stories of these guys that comes in. So for you guys that like are listening, like that stereotype of the "I just see red," they may not say just those terms, but that's the guy. There's a guy that's like that who for some reason just thinks that, while millions of people are involved in these combat sports, and somehow they all have to go through this difficult phase of training, so forth, so on, that somehow they're different. They're just built different, that they just some sort of have a rough shot. And that is like these alpha guys. Maybe it's all for show, right? Which again is a lot of their thing, right? But I think some of them believe it, and they
Yeah.
believe that they can fight. They believe that somehow that they're immune to everything else, that, somehow that these fighters that could just, cave your face in, that somehow they're just going to, because of their mentality, they're not gonna lose a fight. It's nonsense. And I find it comical and funny. Um, and so yeah, just that's more for me. I'm just talking with you guys today because that's funny. I think it's also funny, although it's sad that if anybody does follow those people and thinks they're like that's like good information to come by, like, I'm sorry for those people, because I think that's like a very empty place to sort of strive for, but it's funny to talk about. So
Yeah.
that's my monologue for today, Eugene.
I wonder, because as young men, like we see, like, ooh, I want a nice car,
Yeah.
I want a big house, I want all these things, I want to, um, do you have this image of like what success is, right? You have an
What it's
image of
supposed
like,
to look like.
yeah, what it's supposed to look like. You have an
Society's telling
image,
you what this is what success is supposed to look like.
and and also for us men that enjoy the company of women, we think that women are attracted to a lot of that stuff.
And
And
some women are.
some are, but like a lot of them are not. They're like, I don't really care what kind of car you have, or
Well, I mean, they
eh,
probably care to a degree because there's like a level
well,
of like here's what I mean. Like for instance, if like me and my wife married, right? My wife could tell, like, there's this idea that, for instance, with women, like for instance, guys will work out a lot because we want to impress ladies with our muscles, and later on we realize that our wives and girlfriends don't care because
dude,
like
my wife does not
they,
care at all.
they don't care. But it's like you'll get more compliments from the dudes than your wife, right? But they do care that we're like working out. There's this theory, right? That we still that working out has a signaling to them that we are dependable, because if we can get up and stay disciplined to, to eat better, to lift weights, to exercise, then we may be more dependable when it comes time to say take care of the kids and do these things. So it's like if you're signaling to people. So for instance, if you have a, let's say if you have a nice normal car, right? It's just like the muscle things. There's probably a baseline of like physical fitness that maybe women would be attracted to, and then beyond that is just diminishing returns for the opposite sex. It's
Yeah,
just like you're going to impress the dudes. Likewise, like there's probably a baseline for most women where it's like this is the car or whatever. Like and beyond this, there's no point. But it signals to them like, hey, like they at least have their stuff together enough to have a car
that's
that's dependable and running. And again, I can have some security with that human being, right? Because that's part of the equation for us, right? Is like, oh, okay, like this person's stable, they're secure,
that's it.
they're not
Yeah,
all over the place, right? And so that kind of thing. So there's that. So there is probably a certain point, but beyond that, it's like you don't need the Lambo's not going to do much for most women. I mean, they might think it's cool, but it's probably not going to be the make it or break it for most people.
yeah.
Some people, sure, but probably not the people that most of us listening here and watching give care about.
I had some like as a young man, I wanted like a nice car. So I
Mhm.
bought like a no, it was nice to me. It was a little bit of an older car, it was a BMW, and I would never nothing against BMWs, but I had no business owning a BMW because I could not
You can't afford
pay
maintenance.
pay the maintenance on it. And they,
Yep.
and it was just not a practical car at all. But like for some reason, I wanted that, and I was like, why did I? So as you're kind of sharing some of this stuff, like I never had the ideas of like, oh, I can beat anybody up, or I see red. But
Mhm.
I was like, why did I want that car as a young man? And like, what did I think it was going to do? And like,
I can tell you.
yeah,
So I don't know that I've shared it before, but have I shared with you about Edward Bernays?
you probably did, but let's
Well,
hear it.
so real quick wrap, right? So Edward Bernays was a propagandist for the military during, I believe, like it was like World War One. And he eventually got into marketing afterwards and advertising, and he is responsible in part for some of the most successful advertising campaigns ever,
Mhm.
and is responsible for some of the reasons why we do things that you don't even know that the reason why we do them. So, for instance, eggs and bacon. He basically was paid by a company, bacon company, to sell more bacon. At the time, the average breakfast for Americans was like a piece of toast and some coffee. And so what he did was is he got some doctors to agree that eating a hearty breakfast of eggs and bacon was better than toast and cereals. And what happened? Everybody's eating their eggs and bacon, right? And then another one was Torches of Freedom. It was a bunch of women smoking because it was like, hey, women liberation, women like power, whatever. And basically, there was a big march going on, and basically had these women smoking cigarettes, and they called it Torches of Freedom. So hey, let's get women smoking because we got to sell more cigarettes. Because if we can open up this market to more women smoking, then you double your amount of people you can sell to instead of just selling to men. And then cars. This is the one that I think is so interesting because for a long time, like when cars are coming out, they were looked at as just kind of a utility, right? A tool to get from one place to the other, a carriage,
Yeah.
a horseless carriage. And then Edward Bernays, and he's talking to these car companies. They're like, man, we need to sell more cars, right? Because we got these big factories, and so we got some more cars. So they put in this plan of creating new models every year, right? New models, different types of models, so forth, so on. And then all the advertising back then was geared towards male virility. And so it was all geared towards, your manness. Your worth as a man is in part judged by the kind of car you drove. And if you look at all the old advertisements for it was like 50, 60 years, dude, just like nothing but it's like it was like watching an Axe commercial back. You remember the Axe body
Oh
spray?
God, yeah.
It's
Those
like
are
watching
awful.
that, but for cars. Like if you get this car, you're just going to have women chasing you down, kind of thing. Um, and so they put this in forever. And so then, but it became so much just like diamond rings for engagements, right? It eventually just became part of the cultural norms that, like, oh, I guess this is what we do. Like, when you're a man, to show you're a real man, that you're a successful man, you got to go out and buy a car, right? And I mean, I probably would have been subject to that too if it wasn't for the fact that I had a mentor who was a business owner who, like, the life that he lived was like, dude, that's the life. He's
Mhm.
taking naps in the middle of the day. He owns several businesses and he's got them well managed. He has time for his kids. He does what he wants to do every day. And the dude drove a van, like a regular old Chevy van. And, whatever. And when, asked about, hey, why don't you have this car, Al? Why don't you have this nice car? And he's like, well, why do I
Yeah.
want one? And as a young man, I'm like 19 years old at the time. I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. You're just supposed to want one." He's like, and he told me, he's like, well, it's not important to me. He's like, that $60,000 for that Lexus. Well, that's my kid's education. That allows me to pay for their college and stuff like that, right? His kids went to college and they have advanced degrees and they have no debt. Thanks, pops. Had his
Yeah.
priorities straight. And so for me, like looking at that, like there's nothing wrong with nice cars. There's nothing wrong with like women that look a certain way. There's nothing wrong with any of it. Like big fat houses, whatever you want. But I think there's a thing where if you chase that stuff thinking you're going to fill some void in yourself, more than likely you're going to get to Alan Watts has an old audio program, and in it, he's talking about a guy who climbs the ladder of societal success, right? And they get to the top of the ladder and they realize they're against the wrong wall, right? And I think that
Mm.
for a lot of people, right, like many of us have experienced some version of this, less or more, where you work really hard to get some sort of thing, whatever that thing is. Maybe that it's like a number in your bank account, maybe it's a particular size house, maybe it's a car, whatever it is. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't satisfy whatever void you have in yourself. It's actually kind of depressing because you get it and you're like, well, this was supposed to be the thing, but I still kind of feel the same, right? Whereas there's other experiences that we have that are far more powerful, that seem to be more enriching to our life and our sort of soul, that have nothing to do with any of this stuff. And so
Yeah.
I to me, just thinking about that, right? It's like at least that's how I see it, right? So again, maybe this stuff does do something for people's soul, right? You go out and get some clunky watch, and maybe that really does something for you. I can say that obviously you might feel better with a particular item of clothing or whatever because of
Yeah.
perception, but as far as like how it makes you feel like deep internally or whatever, I don't know.
Well, I think some of it's like as a young person, it's like a status symbol, like that you've achieved something. It's a way to
Yep.
show, like, look what I've accomplished, or
Right, you've proven yourself to
um,
your tribe around you.
yeah, which I think has some value, but a point of diminishing return. Um, as I think about like what kind of things are valuable, right? Like,
Mhm,
you see a lot of these superficial things, but some of the other things that are incredibly valuable are things you can't really purchase. You kind of have to
mhm.
earn them through hard work. One I think is like a jiu-jitsu black belt. We're a jiu-jitsu podcast. If I'm a
Well,
black belt,
hey,
well, wait a
hey,
second.
old
But
money
what it's
bags.
worth, right? But what it's worth. What I'm saying is like having to work and
The
really
skill.
be
Let's say the
the
skill of it,
skill
like the actual
acquisition,
having the skill, yeah.
the experience,
Mhm,
um, knowing that you accomplished this thing. Yes, there's outliers and variables. There's outliers in both directions where one person gets a black belt in 4 years,
mhm.
but they're actually a high level competitor and they've really just are that skilled and that good versus you're a 50 something year old kind of out of shape person and you haven't really shown much skill, but you have a lot of money and you can get the best training.
Hey, that
How
that dude has 10% body fat.
I doubt it.
No,
I have
of
less
course
than
not. He dude,
10%. I
no,
have
of course
about
not.
9%, and that dude don't look like me.
No, dude.
Anyway,
He,
um,
of course he's not. He's
and I
chubby.
don't want to keep harping on this guy, but like
I
I
just
didn't
think
want
it's
to say
funny,
it.
man.
I
It's
didn't want to
entertaining
say
for
it,
me.
but he wears socks. He wears socks on the
Yeah, yeah,
mats.
yeah.
Don't wear
Me and,
socks. I don't get it. I'm not saying it's okay. I am saying sorry. Don't wear socks on the mat.
yeah.
It's not it. It's not
I mean,
it.
if you
So
got something wrong with your feet, just wear wrestling shoes for a bit.
yeah.
But like no well-established jiu-jitsu practitioner wears friggin' socks.
Well, it's very disadvantageous. You have no grip. Like you
Well, he
can't
might
push
have some
off.
grippy socks, but even then, it's like, just wear some
Grippy
damn
socks, Chewy?
socks.
Is that what we're
Huh?
doing? Grippy socks? No.
Well, no, like, I've seen those,
I
like,
gotcha.
grappling socks, and it's like,
Yeah,
it's for guys that, like, I guess they don't wanna get mat burn on their feet, and I'm like, "Stop being a wimp and get your mat burn, take it, and just get used to it. Take it like a grappler, get your mat burn, just like the
that's
rest of
right.
us."
That's right.
Like, this is par for the course.
So back to these alpha bros. These alpha bros.
Alpha
Do you
bros. Alpha.
let's talk about them. I feel like, and let me ask you this question first. Any of those people, for your experience, you have all these experiences of people coming in the gym and
Yeah.
they're like, I see red, or I'm going to be this UFC fighter. They come in, you got skinny Chad, who's like 14 years old, looks like Justin Bieber with his hair mopped over and just wrecks the dude. Have any of these people actually like come back and been like, all right, you guys humbled me. I get it. I understand you've made a point. I want to learn. I want to, because there's two types of people
Yeah.
that don't show up like that. There's people who just show up to the gym in general and they think there's something and they get a very, very real dose of kind of, what they really are, what they're really capable of. And then
Yeah, their delusions
sometimes,
are getting their delusions are meeting reality.
yeah, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
Oh,
And
yeah,
there's
it
two
is.
types of people. There's people that do and people that don't. So any of those gym bros that see red, that want to be UFC fighters, and they say UFC fighters, which I like. I love that
Yeah.
when they fight UFC. That's another story. But yeah, have you seen any of those people come back and actually like, hey, I'm gonna just sit in the class. I'm just gonna be willing to learn and be quiet and kind of go through the paces.
Yeah, some of them, some smaller number. I mean, to be completely honest, I was a little like this. Not, I didn't think that I was going to be the next UFC champion instantly, but like I sort of had a delusional view of where I thought I was. So
Okay.
like when I originally talked to my jiu-jitsu coach, I told him through AOL Instant Messenger back in 2003 that I was going to come in and train whatever. And I told him, I said, man, I'll probably be like roughly like a blue belt, because I wrestled in high school and I watched a lot of video of jiu-jitsu, and I was kind of wrestling around with my buddies in my basement. And so, I had some training. I knew what I was doing. So I was going to be probably like a blue belt, right?
Mhm.
And I go into the gym and get absolutely wrecked by everybody. Sure, I could get a takedown, whatever, and hold it for a second, but then I'm immediately getting submitted. Dashed my illusions. My response to this was, which I'm glad I had that response, was excitement. I was like,
Mm.
dude, these guys are so good. Like, sign me up today. Take my money. Like, take my money. Let's do this. Right. I am like coming in with that. I tend to be the exception because most of those guys that come in, when they have this complete delusion of who they think they are and what they think they're capable of currently, because sure, they could be pretty damn good sometimes, because some of them that come in are incredibly athletic, they're
Yeah.
strong, whatever.
Mhm.
They just don't stick around once they have to sort of fall in line like everybody else. Another guy that came into the gym was this big bodybuilder guy. um and this dude was on the mats. He had wrestled a little bit, but the dude was yoked. I mean, like, just a jack dude. And he's grabbing all the little guys to roll with, and he's just sort of manhandling them around and being strong. And I remember my coach, Kyle, said, Chewy, will you go over and roll with that guy and do something with him? He's over there picking on people and,
Mm.
just talking to these kids. He, like, Chad was there, and he's talking to Chad. He's like, yes, I'm actually, quite strong with my grappling. I'm just trying to learn submissions. Da 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 da. And I roll with him. And I remember at one point I got him on his back, and he put me in like his leg scissor and just like was squeezing my head with his knees. And
Mhm.
he was holding so strong. It hurt, like, but just squeezing, his legs are vibrating. And I just sat there and waiting. And I'm looking over at people and just kind of waiting, waiting, waiting. He got tired, he got on top of him. He never came back. But anyway, there's been a handful over the years that have come in, and their reaction, they come in with sort of this arrogance of who they think they are, this delusion of who they think they are. And once they meet the reality of that, what the truth is, they go, oh, all right, well, sign me up, let's go. And those guys, they tend to do better off. They're fewer, but they do exist. And so, when those guys come in, even if they're, you know, all over the place and they think they're this, that, whatever, you always give them a fair shake,
Yeah.
because sometimes they convert and they fall in line and become, a good training partner and that whole thing.
Well, I think for you, I'm trying to think about reasons. I mean, I know you as a person, I know these people. You have to deal with some adversity, right? You have to deal with, like, I did wrestling and I struggled. You wrestled and you struggled. You kind of, as got in your junior, senior year, you started to do better. So I think you saw that this was kind of a similar situation that you can learn, and that excitement is like, you're excited to learn. You're excited to get better. If that's something this is really your goal, you're excited to get better. I was like, all right. For me, I watched UFC for years. I watched MMA for years. And I was like, I was an athlete. I was like, I'm going to be pretty decent at this. And I wasn't horrible, but
Yeah.
I wasn't by any means, like, if there was like beginner white belts, I was
Mhm.
kind of okay with them. But like, I don't know how long it took me to pass a blue belt's guard. I stuck with it, and I got the shit beat out of me pretty good. But like, I was still well taken care of. Like, nobody tried to pop my arm or hurt me on the mats. But I definitely knew that I was like, hey, I'm really like, you got little tiny dudes that are 125 pounds, and they're literally picking me up and scooping me and putting me on my head, like very gently laying me down, letting me know like, hey, uh, and I thought I was fairly athletic and decently strong, but it's definitely a rude awakening, and I think you have to have some humility, and it does take a toll on your ego. Like, right, you
Mhm.
come in with this ego, like, and I wonder if these people that come in that see red, if they've never really dealt with that type of adversity. Maybe as a kid, there's something happened. They were like, I'm gonna be the strongest and the
Mhm.
whatever. I'm gonna go to the gym and get really, really strong, and then I can overpower, and I'm never gonna get overpowered again. And then that happens by someone that's very small or a lot more skilled, and it kind of is very, because you've built yourself up to be this kind of indestructible. I see red, and then all of a sudden, a smaller teenager wraps you up in a pretzel, and I think it's hard to handle because it really shatters your self image for some people.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know. I imagine that some people tend to create. So, like, there's this idea that I heard shared once that, like, it was a screenwriter, script writer for movies idea. And the idea is that when we go around basically he was talking about the metaphors that you could pick from certain movies. And the movie they used was Shrek. And in the movie Shrek,
Mhm.
there's a scene where Shrek has a suit of armor on where he's meeting the princess. So when he meets the princess, she doesn't realize he's an ogre, right? She doesn't realize who's underneath that armor. And, slowly she finds out that he is, right? And so he was saying that, in life, like a lot of times we go around and we have this external armor that we put on as we interact with society.
Yeah.
And as we get to know people, we sort of pull back the visor, we take off the gauntlets, and we expose a little bit more of ourselves to who we really are. And I think that, in some cases, people can develop that armor, and it can be for a myriad of reasons, right? But they develop that armor. Maybe it's insecurity, maybe it's something or other,
So
the conditions they were a part of when they were younger and they feel like they had to. And then they walk around with it. And then when you go into something like jiu-jitsu, if you go into it with that mindset of you're this, that, whatever, it strips away that armor pretty friggin' fast, man. And you don't have the time to adjust, and you either have to accept it and be like, well, I don't know how to fight. I don't know how to do anything. This 120-pound dude just whooped my butt. I guess I just got to start learning, or you sort of shy away from that and you quit. You're like, okay, no, I don't want to accept this reality. I don't accept the responsibility for this. And I'm just going to go the other way. Like a great example of this was, we had a guy that came into our gym. We had these three military guys. Not that this is important, but I remember they were military guys, right? Because I don't want to say that military guys are better or worse at this, right? They're just because this is just an everybody thing. It's a guy thing mostly. But we had these three military dudes that would come down from Fort Knox, and we have tons of military that are training with us. But for whatever reason, they would always, when we were running a class, they would go into like another part of the gym and just sort of work with each other. Looking at it now, the old gym owner, he sort of just let it happen, I guess, because they were paying money. But for me now, if that was going on, I'd be like, no, dude, like you're going to do a class, or you can leave. That's the way it's going to be, because you don't know what you're doing. But they would go
right.
in, and I remember one day I came in, was watching them move around. And I mean, it was clear that there was one guy that was probably like a 2 or 3 stripe white belt equivalent, if you wanted to say that. And the other two dudes had no clue what they were doing. And so I was talking to one of the other guys that had no idea what they were doing, and they're like, "Man, he's really good, isn't he?" And I was like, "Oh, not really. I mean, he is compared to you guys because you know what you're doing, but he doesn't know what he's doing." And so eventually, these guys go to our one of our classes, and you know, I give my guys, my fighters, I just let them know, hey, this guy's like saying he's an MMA fighter guy. He has a fight coming up in like a month. He doesn't actually train with us because basically he thinks he doesn't need to.
Mm.
So let him feel why he needs to. Now, when they're rolling with him and training with him, they're not hurting him, but they're just not giving him anything. Does it make sense? I want to make sure
Yeah.
we're clear about that, because when you do this to people, you're not doing it to be mean to them. What you're trying to do is say, hey, I want you to recognize, because if I can get you to understand that, then you can come and train with me, and I can actually make you better. I can't build you up if you there's this idea of submission. If you do not submit to the coach, the teacher, the martial art that you're a part of, you can't learn from it. You have to sort of accept that you have no clue what you're doing. Teach me. Give me
Yeah.
something, right? And so, that's my thought process. Like, I want you to learn, so this way you can understand that you don't know anything, and then we can actually build you up. So he comes into the class, and I mean, just gets wrecked by everyone. After the rolls and training were over, I came up to him and I said, "Hey man, how was training today? How'd you feel?" He's like, "Oh man, I'm really tired. I'm cutting weight right now, whatever." And this fight's like a month from now or something. Like, cut weight now, man. I'm just a little tired, da, 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 da. And I said, "I was like, man, it's like, well, you can come back and train, so forth, so on, whatever." And he just kind of like, and he never came back and trained with us during our classes, never whatever. And then he ended up losing his fight a month later because he wasn't training. He didn't know what he was doing, got clobbered. I've had that one before. I had a guy. Were you there when the guy Ramsey was there? The young fella that was like, yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah, then
Like,
he switched gyms and
He
fought,
switched
or
he switched well, he was training with us. We told him not
dude.
to fight. He goes over and boxes. He's boxing with one of our Golden Gloves, like, novices, right? So, yes, he's decent for a novice,
I
but not great. And Larry, the guy that he boxed with, knocked his mouthpiece across the ground. I'm like, "Dude, you don't need to fight." He fought anyway, and this dude took him down, and I mean, just pummeled the hell out of him. So you're like, "Dude, just listen to me, man. Let me help you." And so, yeah, I don't know why, but when these people have that armor shattered, some of them have like the strength of their ego to, like, hang on to that. Or I guess you would say that it's like they're so fragile, they're so the ego is so weak that they cannot accept that, hey, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe this image that I have of myself is not there, and without feeling bad about that, opposed to thinking of it as a great opportunity to be like, oh crap, these guys know stuff I don't know. I don't know, man. I need to train with these guys because that's the way I've always seen it.
yeah, yeah.
So
You expose their vulnerability, and it's just too much for some of them. I think there's embarrassment there. Like, I mean, their whole self-image gets shattered. So I think, like, you have to have a different mindset when you come in to train. You have to be more open and understand that you're not going to know everything. And a lot of it's about survival, right? Like, in the beginning stages, it doesn't matter if you're very athletic or experienced, you're going to learn something that's very different.
mhm.
And you are playing by a certain set of rules as well. It's not like we're in a street fight. You can't just, throw punches or, you know, use a weapon.
Mhm.
So you're kind of limited. You're limited to your arms and legs and your body and what you can do. And I think it just exposes people. It
I mean, but dude,
exposes them.
I've taken guys that were brand new, and we would, like, they would say, because they would have the kind of same kind of comment, "Oh, this isn't fight." I'm like, "All right, dude, let's fight then." Back in the day when I was a younger guy, right? I mean, I remember having one guy who basically was just saying that kind of stuff. I was like, "All right, man, let's go." And put on the gloves, mouth, little boil and bite mouthpiece, pop that in your mouth, and let's go, dude. And obviously, I didn't hurt him, but, like, had him down on the ground, is basically like, dude, you can't do anything. What are you talking about? Punches
Mhm.
aren't going to make a damn bit of difference.
Yeah.
Like, it's just interesting to see. And so all the alpha dudes, I feel like they're like that guy
Yeah.
over and over again. It's the dude who's just full of it, incredibly delusional, and man, they hang on to it. And I think it's funny.
A lot of it's a facade. It's like a show. You know what I mean? It's a show. It's a smoke show. It's like the show of, like, oh, they're gonna be too scared to test me, right? Like, I'm this because so a lot of those people, like that Wes Watson guy, he's pretty. I've never seen him, but he's pretty
He's a big
jacked.
fella. Looks
He's
like
a
he's pretty
big
big.
fella. He's like got
Muscular.
neck tattoos and he's muscular
Oh,
and,
yeah, yeah.
like, he kind of has this intimidating, aggressive way of speaking, and, like, just the way
He's
he
loud, yeah.
loud and kind of, you know, for some that appears as confidence, but, if you've seen that, it kind of looks like it's just more insecurity and you're just kind of over exaggerating. You're trying to peacock, I think. Like, you're like a bird, you're showing all your feathers and, like, look at me, I'm this big thing, big scary thing. And so I think a lot of those people may present in a way that they think nobody's ever going to test them. Nobody's going to challenge them. And then when they do get challenged, okay, let's put the gloves on. Let's do this. It's just not a great I think you have to have more humility as a human, because you're going to get exposed essentially. And then if that's you've built your whole image off of this thing, this intimidation, you're gonna find out that that's maybe not the best way to be.
I wonder how many people, like, because you look at those accounts and there's, like, lots and lots of followers. I wonder how many of them are bought, fake followers, and how many of them are people that are following for entertainment purposes, and how
Yeah.
many follow who are like, yeah, like this is the dude or whatever. I wonder what that ratio is. That would be an interesting thing to actually know.
Yeah.
Like, what is that ratio?
And some people, like, some of us will watch just to kind of get a good laugh. And I think some of the people that they don't really know what a good role model or good someone to look up to is, and that's going to be what they see. But I think, for me, and we've talked about this as well, we kind of mentioned it, like things that are like true wealth. Like, it's not the cars and it's like the family and the time that you have to do what you love to do and the things you've earned and worked hard for. I think that's wealth.
Yeah.
Wealth is a lot of times, honestly, things you can't buy. Like, I think that's what true wealth is. And um, doing things that you love, like training and achieving, black belt, whatever it is. I think you can't buy those things. In some instances, you can, of course, like you said, but really, for most people, wealth is like learning and having a family and having the ability to spend time with them and enjoy those things.
Well, it's also too, I think of like, one of the big things, I think wealth, when you think of one is wealth is kind of unseen, because you like, wealth, like when you think of monetary wealth, right? Monetary wealth means it's not spent. If you have wealth, that means you have cash, you have investment accounts, you have money that's at your disposal that hasn't been spent, and you can then have autonomy. And I think autonomy, that's like when you think of like what monetary wealth really does, that's really powerful. It gives you autonomy,
Yeah.
freedom, right? You can live life on your own sort of rules, versus what a lot of people end up doing is as soon as they get a few nickels to rub together, man, they start spending, spend, and then they're like strapped. Then you don't get the freedom. You don't get the freedom, right? You're basically locked in because you're chasing a lifestyle that's been proposed to you as being like, this is what you're supposed to chase after. Meanwhile, it doesn't actually make you any happier. And then, like you said, then there's the other stuff that when you talk about the things that if you're getting ready to kick the bucket, there's been enough studies on this, right? When you're getting ready to kick the bucket and you're on your deathbed, and you think about the stuff that really stands with you, the stuff that's really important.
Stuff that matters.
It ain't that, oh man, this car was so cool, or man, I got this really cool watch, or it's like, man, I'm really glad I'm surrounded by my family, or I'm really glad I had a woman or a person or a man that I really loved and was there. That those sorts of things. That's what it's the base human stuff. The experiences you had with your friends and your bros and the ladies in your life, whatever it is, right? The people in your life. That's the stuff that's way more powerful. But it doesn't sell. Can't sell you on the
Yes.
lifestyle. Can't sell you on that lifestyle, right? About how you're gonna like make all this happen. So instead, it's like, hey, I'm gonna show you all the secrets to make all the money, so this way you can have this lifestyle that you probably don't even want, but you feel like you want because society's told you should want it.
Yeah, it's not flashy. Like, the life that honestly is meaningful is not necessarily flashy or like in your face. It's kind of subtle. It's like, and people are that have that kind of lifestyle, they don't flaunt it. Like, the people that have money, a lot of them are not really flaunting it. They're
Well,
kind
I mean,
of just
well, think about that. How would you even do? How would you do that? You have to like, hey guys, like like some guy's screaming at people because he's like gonna go he's gonna go spend some quality time with his kids. Me and my son are about to go out in the pool, and I'm gonna sit out there for an hour with them, and I'm gonna make sure he has sunscreen on because I don't want him to get a sunburn. Like, I don't know how you could market that, or like, man,
sure you can, I guess.
my
I don't
wife's
know.
had a real rough day, and I wanted to show her that I care, so I'm making dinner tonight. Whatever.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point. It's a great point. Like, a lot of this stuff is like we talked about, it's like peacocking. It's like showing your feathers and being bright and boisterous and loud, because that kind of grabs attention, but then there's no substance behind that. That's all
man,
you
dude,
see. What you see is what you get.
we I should do that. I should like make up an Instagram account. It should be like Alpha Dad, and
Yeah.
I'll parody all the alpha stuff with the stuff that I think's really important. Like
Just scare the shit out of your son, essentially, like
just
yelling, like,
he'd
like
probably
yelling
go,
at your wife, like, let's go get sushi.
yeah. My Luke would probably be like, Dad, be Dad, shh, quiet.
That's right.
Um,
Smart
he
kid.
he's been doing this thing. He's been doing this thing recently, bro. Where like he last night when I gave him a bath, he he'll cover himself up under the blankets, and then he'll go, "Where'd Luca go?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Where's Luca?" And then he'd be like, "I'm right here." So then,
Yeah.
like, what's he do? He like fucking covers up his he covers up his bottom, and he goes, "Dada?" I'm like, "What, buddy?" He goes, "Where'd Luca penis go?"
Oh my God.
and, and I'm like, "I don't know, buddy." And he opens it up. He goes, "It's right here." I'm like, "Ugh." And
There
you're
you go.
trying not to laugh
Dude.
because you don't want to encourage it because I don't want him to go to school flashing his penis to everybody. But
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
it's so hard because it's funny, you
Yeah,
know.
it's pretty hilarious, and you try to be serious. I'm like, this is really funny stuff, and it's hard not to laugh. That's one of the hardest things, man. When your kid does something like they shouldn't do, but it's hilarious, and you try not
Yeah.
to encourage it, and then they see you laughing anyways. You're like, oh,
Yeah, because then they
I'm
know. Because then
failing
they're,
as a
"Oh, this is
parent.
funny. You're laughing
Yeah,
at me."
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. That's the important stuff, honestly. Those experiences with your kids and your family and stuff, and having autonomy to do what you want, and that's stuff that's valuable, not this peacocking stuff, because those people they're not just they're gonna fly by night. That's kind of they're here one moment, and
sure.
once the act's over, it's over. There's nothing
Yeah,
else
they
behind
don't
it.
last very long.
Oh,
It tends to seem like that the little grift lasts for a couple of years and they sort of die off, whatever, because there's been lots of them over the years.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I still find it funny. I feel like more of them are happening, and it's becoming more and more preposterous. Where sometimes I'm watching them and I'm thinking, is this like a joke? Are these guys joking? And like there was one account I looked at, where this dude's he's like walking through his like living room, I guess, and he's like, I mean, he's not super lean. I mean, he's a little bit muscular, but he's got his lats spread out like he's a 747. I mean, he's got his arms like he has to walk through the door sideways, and he's walking through. He's like, I walk through life like there's no king or something because I'm the king or something. Like, what is this nonsense? You
I
know,
love it. I'm
like
gonna start doing it.
or
Gonna
there
do
was another one. And again, I'm just having fun because I watched some of the stuff before we did the episode. There was one guy who's like, he's probably in his early 20s. He's a big, kind of muscular guy, whatever. But he's like, yeah, guys, like two years ago, I was broke. Da, 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 da. Now I'm like rich or whatever. I'm like, well, that just means you scam some people. Because if you took if you said, hey, yeah, 2 years ago I was broke, but then I built this business and then we did this, da, 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 well, then that makes sense. Right? Then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm listening," right? But like,
Yeah,
there's no talk about the business. It's like I was broke, and then now I'm rich. Like you're probably just all fake show, fake show,
yeah,
or you've fleeced people out of their money to sell them a lifestyle that you didn't actually live anyway.
yeah.
So I don't know, man. I just think it's a mess. I find it hilarious, and I'm sure you guys watching probably or listening, maybe both. Hopefully, I'm sure you guys find it funny too.
It is because it is. It's ridiculous, and those people usually you'll see them at the gym one minute and they'll be gone the next.
Yeah.
So
So guys, appreciate you guys for being here for the podcast. Again, it's a different episode. This is more of just I wanted to share the stories about the see red sort of delusional MMA people because I haven't shared those most of them, and I've got a bunch of them. I've got so many of those stories, golly, but I find them funny. And again, I know that when I posted on Instagram about all the silly fake alpha bro stuff, a lot of you guys seem to enjoy the humor in that. So I figured, well, let's make it into a podcast episode. Where all of us people that are probably, most of you that listen, we've got the analytics. So most of you guys are over 30, so we're a little bit smarter than that, I hope. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully you got a laugh or a grin or something from it. Maybe there was an idea that you found interesting, like the Shrek armor society idea. I think that's what I think it's a really useful idea anyway. Just
sure it is.
thinking about how you sort of interact with society. But anyway, thank you for being here. Big thanks to our sponsors for helping make the podcast happen. Charlotte's Web CBD. If you guys would like to try out any of their products and supplements, try them out and you can save 30%. You go to their website at charlottesweb.com. Try CBD, some of the other cannabinoids like CBN products, which are great for sleep. They've got things like functional mushrooms, lion's mane, reishi, some other stuff. charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu30 for 30% off the order if you buy it. EpicRollBJJ.com is the website. Go through there, see if you find anything that you like. They have some terrific jiu-jitsu gear, t-shirts, shorts, rash guards, gis, you name it, they make it. Chewjitsu20 is the coupon code to check out at EpicRollBJJ.com. If you guys would like to be a supporter of the podcast, you can do so by becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/the Chewjitsu podcast. And when you join up, you'll get a bunch of different perks. If you guys want to get a list of the perks and the details of the perks, you can do that at patreon.com/the Chewjitsu podcast. And then when you join up, you'll support the podcast you're listening to and get access to a bunch of additional stuff that's not released anywhere else. If you guys want to get my daily email, you can also go to my website at chewjitsu.net/join, JOIN. When you join up, you'll get access to my daily email that I send out almost daily, Monday through Friday. And then I send out an ebook and video that comes with it, where it'll give you 12 different strategies on how to get more from your rolling during the open rolls session. So if you're going into your gym and you're just doing regular open rolling with no sort of clear idea, it'll give you some ideas on how to improve faster, have a bit more clear direction. And also you get motivated by that. When you feel like you have something you're chasing after, there's nothing more motivating than that on and off the mats. And so again, when you have a direction you're going to, it's motivating on and off the mats. So if you guys want to get the ebook in the daily email, go to chewjitsu.net/join, check it out. And guys, thank you for being here. And as always, we appreciate you all, and we'll talk to you next week.